trade deadline. So I'm sure they'll be one of the more active teams in both.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have the Houston Rockets. I think this is who are also 20 and 15. They're in the last 10 games. They're 9-1, so they have really, really improved. And especially I think the last 4 games have been without Chris Paul. James Harden's playing lights out right now. The numbers he's putting up is like he's trying to get a second MVP. I think the addition of Austin Rivers kind of looks like really, really smart right now, and I'm not saying it's not a smart move, but I think it's gonna a little bit, average itself out, and it won't be the greatest move that they have made. I think the name that's been always brought up with them has been a Kent Bazemore. The name you've been talking about, Justin Holiday, getting some other wings here wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, of course. It doesn't have to be wings either. They need depth. They need some type of depth on this team with the no names they have playing in their rotation. They need depth, specifically now with Chris Paul out for some time. Like you said, Austin Rivers was a good move, if only because they needed just NBA caliber names on that roster. So what I think might even be a better option for them is trying to swing a trade instead of swinging a trade for just a Cam Bazemore, trying to see if there may be 2 players on cheaper contracts that they could try to trade for, such as Washington. Maybe if they're willing to trade a Marcus Morrison and Jeff Green, I say you go out and do that. You may have to throw an additional second-round pick, even though their second-round pick's not high. If it's a future second-round pick, it may be more worthy alongside a first-round pick. Well, I mean, theoretically, I know this Washington wouldn't want to do this because there's, they're getting money in this deal instead of giving up money, but Marcus Morris and Jeff Green for a Brandon Knight, or if you could maybe try to swing a Nene and Marquise Chris for a Marcus Morris and Jeff Green, that actually does work, and Washington does save money. Obviously, Houston throws in a first-round pick here. That works, and that may be a trade that Houston looks into. And then you could still trade Brandon Knight for a Kent Bazemore. That way, getting yourself 3 players.
That's only if Washington has given up on making the playoffs.
Well, they've definitely given up with John Wall out. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say definitely.
Last year they played better with John Wall out.
Well, this year they're also playing better with John Wall out. But
so I don't know if that necessarily is true.
Okay, you're right. I may have jumped the gun there, but
3 games behind, 3.5 games behind the Pistons. Like again, if Houston can pull off 2 players like that, I would be very pissed off. But
well, there's nothing to be pissed off about. These are both players on expiring contracts. They would save Washington money. You're taking Houston is very as much as Houston likes to say that they're willing to spend the luxury tax. You're gaining about $3-4 million in terms of the salary cap here. And I think Houston pretty much shown that they were pretty cheap this offseason.
Oh, yeah. I think the new owner hasn't been as willing to spend as the past.
Yeah, and then you're getting 2 players on expiring contracts who may not come back. You're giving up a first-round pick. So who knows? If this may be something that both teams look into, and we could see if it happens. You're giving up. In order to get something, you got to give up something in return. And like you said, Washington, you're right. Washington does play better with John Wall, as good as John Wall can be at times. Washington does play better without him. But even with that, if they are smart, they'll be looking to trade these players, especially these 2 players on expiring contracts. They may be a part of their future. They may be willing to stay there. Again, I don't know. Is it a risk you're willing to take? Who knows?
That's a big if the Wizards are smart. So now we have the Los Angeles Clippers, and again, I think the argument here is just really be patient and wait for this offseason. Obviously you're playing well. You're slipping a little bit. You're 4-6 in your last 10. You're 21-15, and there is a chance that they do go down. And not making the playoffs for the Clippers this year might be a pretty smart move, just because. They don't lose their first-round pick in that case, and those picks can be to 2 second-round picks, which might not be the worst thing in the world. It's not like you're going to make the finals this year, and having another young asset on the team can be even more enticing for a free agent in the summer.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think the Clippers want to show to other teams like, hey, here's the core we have. Here's how we're playing. Here's how hard we play, and we will try anything to get into the playoffs. And the good thing for the Clippers is the players that are playing really well, such as Gallinari, Tobias Harris, obviously. Well, Tobias Harris is a free agent. I'm sorry, but Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Marcus Harrell, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams. These guys are signed to this team beyond this season, and those are the players playing some of the best basketball on this team, and they are signed to very good deals. They are signed to cheaper deals. Therefore, now teams may be much more intrigued to come to the Clippers, knowing that they not only have these players as long-term pieces, if they'd like them for them to be, they could be trade pieces in the summer as well if they want to go out and get someone else, in addition to the big mountain of salary cap space that they will have available to them. So if I'm the Clippers, I don't necessarily worry too much about that first round pick. Just kind of go out, keep fighting, and showing teams like, here's what we are about. And if you'd like to come play for us, this is how we play, and this is how hard we try.
Yeah, I mean, but also finishing ninth in the West and keeping that pick.
Yeah, sure, but I don't necessarily know if they're that concerned about that first round pick. If I'm them, my goal is maybe to try to go out and use one of the expiring contracts you have to try to acquire a three-point shooter, because they're one of the worst teams in the league in terms of how many three-pointers they make. But that's something only if something good is available, and depending on how much you would have to give up. That may be another route to take. I'm not sure how important that first round pick is to them. I mean, it's important, but at the same time, I think it's more important for them to go out and show the free agents, like, this is how hard we play. This is what we're all about. This is the type of culture we have here.
All right, now we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are 22-13. They have been one of the best and most consistent teams in the West. They don't have a lot of cap flexibility. They're definitely in the luxury tax. Sam Presti and whoever the owners have definitely spent a lot of money. What is the way you think that this team can improve?
They're a very good defensive team. They're waiting on Andre Robertson to get back. They'll probably become an even better defensive team. However,
a worse offensive team once he comes back, right?
Well, and that's the thing. You may want to look into trading Andre Robertson. You won't get too much in return, specifically with the way he's been hurt the last two seasons. He's got some value in terms of a trade piece because he is such a good defensive player. But I mean, it's not that too much defense is never too much, but at the same time, you want a nice balance there of defensive firepower and offensive firepower, and that may be the route that they should take. Try to trade him along with whatever else you have. You don't have much there, but with whatever else you have, to try to acquire another offensive piece. Now, who that is a different story. It just really depends on what you're willing to give up and what another team is willing to take back. I mean, how many teams will be willing to take on Andre Robertson? He's not expensive, but at the same time, he is hurt nonstop, and a rebuilding team may be much less willing to trade for him because of the fact that they're looking for healthy players who could showcase themselves, and so the rebuilding teams could see if that's a part of their future or not. So you may have to get a little creative here. I mean, you can't necessarily trade a first-round pick. I know they don't have their 2020 first-round pick, and I can't remember which first-round pick they traded to Atlanta. But in terms of them being able to trade first-round picks, they pretty much have a stranglehold on that. There's not much. They have to get creative, I'm trying to say, with that. So it's going to be interesting to see what Oklahoma City does if they do anything out there. But I would say trying to acquire another offensive piece in return for Andre Robinson would be my goal for the Thunder.
Yeah, I don't know how plausible that is because of his injury and like what kind of a player you can get back for an Andre Robertson when it comes to the offensive end. Yeah, I think unfortunately, this team is put in a position where it's just going to have to stay pat, and it's not a bad position because they are third in the West. and they can put up a decent playoff run this year. And the next team, we have the Golden State Warriors, and I think it's a pretty simple answer. The answer is they need depth. I don't know how they can. I mean, obviously there's ways to get it, but you don't want to give up any of the 4 players. So it's another team that's probably just going to have to stay pat where they are and, continue with the team and probably win the finals.
Well, I think the one option and beyond, the number one option I think will be the buyout market. I think Robin Lopez would be a nice fit there, and I don't see him being traded. He doesn't have enough value to be traded by the Bulls, so I think he's the perfect candidate to be bought out as the trade deadline passes, which I think will happen. I don't see any reason why he won't sign with Golden State or why Golden State won't have him. So I think at this point, that's almost a foregone conclusion that Robin Lopez will go there. If you really want to think of something here, Shaun Livingston is on somewhat of an expiring contract. I believe he's only got $2 million guaranteed after this season of his $8 million contract. So you could package him alongside with a first-round pick, which would obviously be a late first-round pick, and try to get another depth piece there. That is an option. Perhaps for a player like Iman Shumpert from Sacramento, that might be what you try to swing for and see if that works out. But yeah, those are their best possibilities for this season to hopefully continue competing for a championship, obviously. And it's not as much of a foregone conclusion as everyone thought it was. So,
all right, and then the last team we're going to discuss are the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets right now are at the top of the Western Conference, which is a little bit surprising because everyone thought it would be either the Warriors or the Rockets. But the Denver Nuggets are a good team. Right now I would argue the best thing for them would be is just to get healthy. Millsap has been gone. I think he finally played his first game back yesterday. Right now Gary Harris is gone. So even though they have had these players, these starters not playing, they've been really able to get the role players to show up and contribute to the team. And, they're at the top of the conference. So I think the best thing for them would be to get healthy right now.
Yeah, of course. That's the same thing I was going to say. I don't think it's an obvious answer and maybe an easy way out for us to say, yeah, make sure they get healthy. But with as much as this team's been hurt, Will Barton has been gone since basically the start of the season. Gary Harris has been hurt for a while now. And 2 other players that nobody really throws around are obviously Michael Porter, who is more likely not to play this season. However, if you could get him back and maybe, see what he could do for a little while at least, that would be nice. And obviously Isaiah Thomas, who could be another great spark plug off the bench. This team is pretty deep, which kind of surprises me because this is the one team that I expected to have a real good starting lineup and not much depth. And boy, was I proven wrong. But that's good. That's good for them. They've been playing real. The bench pieces have been playing real well. And the good thing for them is that the bench players have been able to stay healthy. Players such as Juan Hernangomez, Beasley, Plumlee, Lyles, Monte Morris, these guys have been able to stay healthy and been able to contribute a lot of very solid minutes. So at this point, it's easy just for us to say, get healthy. These are all young players, so there's no reason to be trying to trade any of them. I guess if you have to trade anyone, try to maybe trade a Mason Plumlee. But at this point, I would just say no reason to do that. These are all players signed that they are under team control beyond this year. Beyond maybe Paul Millsap, who's got a player option, it'd be hard to see him not exercising a player option worth $30 million. The only reason why he might do that would be to re-sign another for a longer term with Denver, probably maybe sign for about 3 years and between 60 and 70 million, just so you could get the financial flexibility beyond the 2019-20 season. But that would still keep him with Denver, and there's no reason for him not to stay there. So yeah, simply enough, get healthy.
All right, so that will be the end of our New Year's resolutions. I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope you guys have a wonderful New Year and stay safe tonight. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, ideas, trades you want to discuss, please email us at nbatradezone@gmail.com. Follow our Instagram.